Welcome to NCL Thursday Night Live for February 8th, 2018. Oh, gosh, the year flies. I'm still saying 17. Well, happy 2018. Um, my guest today is Ric Smith, Student Body President for Gateway Community and Technical College. I'm Dan Manson, NCL Commissioner. Ric, welcome to Thursday Night Live.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Your background is wonderful. It's a very interesting discussion that we had prior to the show. I know that you played for the first time in fall, and now you're coaching. But can you go back and kind of talk about how you were introduced to NCL and what got you motivated to be part of playing in the competition?
Yes, sir. No problem. One of the biggest motivations and the way I was introduced is actually through one of my professors here at Gateway, Professor Deepa Manayaki. He's our cyber security guru here at the school. I was taking a basic security class, our CIT 180, and he had recommended that one way that we could get a little more acclimated and a little more used to the security protocols and learn Cali was to try out the National Cyber League. So a few of us kind of checked it out. And then I would say within about a week, it just escalated to more and more people getting involved. Before we knew it, we decided that we were all going to compete. So after about 10 days, we had about 24 people that were interested in it. We were meeting regularly on Fridays. We started repositories. We had our Google Drive kick in. We started kind of divvying things out for who needed to start concentrating on specific areas of study. So we were actually starting to pull a team together. Last year, even though Deep was the coach, another gentleman and myself were kind of like the sub coaches, just kind of get our feet wet and get ourselves introduced to it. And after that, it just exploded. I remember capturing my first flag. It was such an incredible sense of accomplishment.
But you never forget your first flag.
Not at all. It's you sit there and you're coding this and you're trying to dissect that. And mine was a password. I cracked the password successfully. And you're looking at this and you don't know what this is and what that is. So I had to take a step outside the box. I'm like, okay, first a hash identifier. I need to know what kind of hash I'm dealing with. And I need to know hash cat. I got to get my word list together. And then before I know it, your flag is NCL, yada, yada, yada. And, you get the goose pimples and you get that smile and that it just overcomes you. But after that, it's what's next? All right, this is 10 points. This is 20 points. This is 25 points. So it becomes kind of like not a race to the finish, but I mean, it's that internal competition. It's that race is going, not even knowing what's going nationally.
Now, yeah, when you're playing, you realize you're playing against people that could be anywhere. This is a remote competition and any location with any type of experience. Were you a little bit intimidated? With the thought that there are people out there that, oh gosh, they may be doing things I don't even know about.
I didn't know anything. I knew what I had learned in the last few weeks from going to different websites to practice other CTF competitions. But the knowledge I had was what I had accumulated over a month. So in my mind, especially when you start going, and the worst thing I think that anyone can do that's starting out playing this is look at the leaderboards. Stay away from the leaderboards. It can get a little discouraging. That's what it did for me. As well as I thought I was doing, once I got on and started looking at some of the other numbers that people had and their percentages and their percentage for correct answers, I was a little bit discouraged. I didn't let it get me down. And we actually decided at that point, we don't care what that is. I mean, it's nice to see where you rank and what's going on, but it doesn't matter. You got people, they know more than you. All you need to worry about is what you know and what you can grow and how you can expand that knowledge. Like I said, I knew nothing coming in, and I know a pretty decent amount now. Still, this much compared to the shoebox I need to fill, but I got a peanut shell going right now.
So when you received your first scouting report, what was that like?
That was actually pretty interesting too, because I didn't think I had done as well as I did according to the report. When I started looking at the numbers, again, like I said, my first competition, I knew nothing going into it. I'm 45 years old. So yeah, I'm one of the old folks that kind of dipped into the cyber league, but I was able to score in the top 10% of the bronze league. And yeah, I could have gotten in the silver league. But in my first competition, I was in the top 10% of the bronze league. Am I going to use that on interviews? Heck yeah, I'm going to use it.
Mhm.
I printed it out. I got my certificates. And I've actually talked to some local business leaders, and they use Capture the Flag. Some of the CIT companies in the area, they use Capture the Flag locally in their offices.
So this is something I think is still somewhat unique to NCL. We let you play a fun Capture the Flag, but we give you tremendous measurements
That progress
on how you're
incredible.
doing for yourself, but compared to others in your bracket, others at your level, and others nationally. Have you ever talked to an employer and said, look, this is not only a score in this competition, but it's a measurement of how well I'm doing compared to everyone else?
Oh yeah, I'm one of the CIT advisory boards for the college, and we meet with some of the local business owners, and we were actually discussing it with them, and a few of them actually look at the progress reports that you have, and what a lot of students need to understand, as well as the coaches, when we're mentoring some of these students, is they don't always care about the final numbers. What they care about is if there's growth involved, and to see that you're making an effort. You know, if you don't know anything the first time you compete, that's not bad. But the next time you compete, let's hope that you learned some things and you picked up some things, and that those numbers are better, that your percentages are stronger.
So this is something like your transcript, but there's a cool thing about this is no one fails.
Right.
You never have a bad scouting report in the sense that you can talk about what you learned. When students come in and talk about their coursework with employers, I know from my conversations with employers, they want to know what that meant. What did it mean that you got a B in this class, or an A in this class, or a C in this class? What did you learn in this class? But I think what we're trying to do here is give you a document that makes it easier for you to tell that story.
Right. And it's almost like a progress report. It's not like you said, you don't fail. They're just letting you know what you did. They're letting you know what your strengths are. And by looking at that, you can identify some of your weaknesses and you can pick up on those. But I think it's an incredible tool. And I think that the more the NCL starts to spread, the more valuable that tool is going to be for not only the students and the people that participate, but for employers as well. It's going to be, I mean, incredible. It's an incredible resource.
You made a decision to transition from player to coach. What helped you make that decision?
The fact that I wanted, it was actually, I think it was the last fall competition last year. We all got together. It was the last individual competition, and people were working on some things, and I was submitting some answers, and I was listening to people in kind of the background, trying to solve some of the, I think it was logs. They were identifying some of the logs, and they were just having some issues. And then I hear another guy to the left of me, and he's trying to figure out what a jar file was. Well, I'm a programmer, and that's my calling. So immediately, that's Java. I know what that is. That's a compiled Java program. Mm-hmm. But he had been working on one of the tasks for a day and a half, he said, and didn't even know where to start. So in my mind, I'm wanting to split myself into 4 people so I can go help these 2 or 3 get their logs done, because I can explain that to them. You know, in my mind, I'm like, well, I can explain that to you in minutes and you can be done with it. And a 5-minute conversation with the guy on my left, explaining to him what class files are and what jar files are to decompile it, that solves a day and a half issue that he's had. So I actually decided at that minute that, and it was unfortunate, like I said, because at this point I can't submit answers of my own.
Right. You're no longer the one in the field. Right. You're the one on the sidelines.
Well, and that's what I did. I took myself out of the game, and I'm like, I feel much better served spreading my knowledge to the rest of the teammates and bringing them up on the level than I do. And I kind of felt like I was being greedy both ways. If I stayed in the game plan, that I was being greedy, but now I'm pulling myself out for being greedy as well, because by coaching people, I'm a stronger player now. My cyber skills become stronger because I'm teaching people. It also opens me up to new ways of thinking about things. When I'm discussing different tactics with people, they might have a solution to it that I would have never thought of, but then I can bring things to the table that they wouldn't have thought of. So it's really nice to build each other up. And I think I get a stronger sense of accomplishment from watching other people succeed than just me being on a team of 12 people and only 2 or 3 of us succeeding. Whereas if I step out, all 12 of us can succeed.
If you're working with a team and you're helping that team, you're improving that team, you're improving your own skills.
Right.
And in business today, it's not enough just to be a solo. It's not enough just to be the person in front of a computer that doesn't have to work with it on a team and doesn't have to really communicate to people to help them understand what the needs are. But it seems that as a coach, you're developing those skills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, plus you're forced to parallel process and multitask. You're forced to be in that team situation where you have to learn to deal with 3 or 4 different types of personalities all at the same time, trying to convey the same message to 4 different people, 6 different people, whatever numbers you're dealing with. And it causes you to make those split-second decisions faster than split second. It causes you to be a stronger person because now you're going over the same topic 2 or 3 times in a day. Also, I think that in doing that, you're gaining the confidence of the people that you're mentoring. You're gaining the confidence of the students because you know what you're talking about. They not only see you being successful with other students around them, but you're able to help and coach them. And I think that's one of the most important things of being a successful coach.
You're very involved with Gateway. You're student body president. You're involved with the overall community on the campus. Have you talked to people outside of the area, the IT area or the cyber area of the campus, and tried to explain what NCL is?
I was in one of our information commons areas, which is a kind of an open group area. I was talking to another CIT student who is going to be one of my fellow coaches soon. And he had a few friends with him that are business majors. And I think I have them ready to come to the next meeting on Friday because they're interested. I was at another one of our campuses talking to some of our nursing students and the cyber defense case. It seems everywhere I go, at some point, as soon as we start talking about CIT and what field I'm in, the NCL comes up or some cyber league comes up, some cyber competition comes up. And the more people I talk about it, the more people are becoming interested, not just CIT students. It's something everybody's curious about.
Is there an advantage in having this be an extracurricular and be a competition where it can motivate people more than just a traditional classroom experience where you're reading from the book and you're studying for the test from the chapters, but NCL is more wide open. It is a little bit more like going out on the field, right, and playing.
I think one of the strongest advantages NCL has to that is the fact that it's an extracurricular activity. Just from the start, that means that it's something the student chose to do. It wasn't part of a curriculum or a syllabus laid out that they had to take this class or had to do this specific event. So because it's something they want to do, I think there's a little more passion there sometimes. I think there's a little bit more drive and desire. I've actually found at times putting some of your studies on the side because you get so enraged and so engulfed in capturing that flag and moving on to the next level. And, oh, wait, I don't quite have this program down. I don't quite understand Hashcat. Let me watch a couple more videos and then I'll work on this assignment. So I do think it's incredible. And you see that passion. You see some of the students and some of the different people that I mentor, especially when they start capturing their flags. When they capture their first flag or their second flag, it's almost like a drug. Like you want more. You want to know what else you can do. Okay, now let's move on to a SQL injection. Well, what about this website? Can we scan this website? It's like a what's next? What can I do next? What can I learn next?
Have you found this happen to you as a student and you're cautioning them, coaching them that, you do have a life outside of NCL and you do have to get grades still? And
yeah, as long as they keep the balance, what I tell them to do is, cut that movie out. Cut that movie that you go see once a month out. Don't go out to eat twice this week. Stay home. Use that time for your NCL. Use that time for your studying. Those are the 2 things you want to balance. I mean, especially for me as a student last semester and then continuing this semester, those are the 2 most important things that are going on in my life. And luckily, I've integrated them into one. As far as I'm concerned, NCL is one of my classes. It gets a specific amount of time devoted to it. And what's neat that I'm seeing is even though it's extracurricular activity and you can see when the students are doing that's how they feel, but they're giving it that priority too. They're giving it a high priority, almost like it's something that they're mandated to do, but they still have the thrill. You can see the thrill when they come in, and the disappointment when we have to cancel a meeting or postpone a meeting. It's something they look forward to.
So you played in the fall as an individual and then in the postseason?
Yes, sir.
What was more fun?
I think when I played the first competition, the postseason is where I kind of put it on hold to kind of assume the mantle of coach. And I wasn't able to concentrate fully on it. So I think capturing all those flags and getting 10%, the top 10% in the bronze division, that was an incredible sense of accomplishment. Like I said, I'm 45 years old, and the first computer programming class I took was 2 years ago. The first time I touched the Cali system was after I registered for NCL. So to accomplish those tasks in such a short amount of time, I thought was incredible. It gave me an incredible sense of accomplishment. But like I said, now I get to watch other people. I get to watch people experience that all the time now. Like it's the first time. I'll get to watch them do their first time forever.
Is it a confidence booster to play in a competition as compared to just taking classes? Because I know students in classes get bored. I know students get intimidated. But is there something that we do in the extracurricular that helps them get beyond that?
Well, I think it's important because, one, when you're competing, you're not just competing locally with people around you. You're competing at a national competition where, like you said, there are people that are remotely it's everywhere. So the numbers, you don't know how many numbers you're competing with. You just know that the numbers are astronomical. You know that people have a stronger skill set than you, but you're still capturing the flags, and it's not like you lose. You either capture the flag and move on, or you try and you move on to the next flag, but you still finish. You don't lose. You're not cut down. I think it's important, and people are learning so much. People are learning an incredible amount of information.
So you have plans to move on to 4-year, to a master's eventually, and you're talking to companies now. Do you plan to continue in competitions as you move on?
Oh, yes. Now, once I move on to a 4-year, I do know that my goals for the next year, I should still maintain Gateway. I still should be a student Gateway. I will continue to coach. Hopefully next semester we'll have a stronger team, because now we'll have people in it for 3 seasons. And I have a feeling a lot of the people that are competing this season, which is their first time, I have a feeling that they're going to continue on because they're really enjoying what's happening now. Once I move on to a 4-year, depending on what they have going on there and what teams are going on there, is whether I would continue to coach or move back into the competition on an individual level. But it's definitely something, even if I weren't to continue on to a 4-year, if I had the ability to, I would still like to continue coaching. I think what NCL is doing is incredible. And not only what it provides for the students to use as a resource and the networking that it could start, but just for the skill set that it's learning and getting them to think outside the box, getting to start those problem-solving skills, which those are skills that this generation is losing. And you guys are helping bring back a lot of things that we grew up learning, things in school. And
I really believe that the attention span these days for those going into college is less than when we were in college.
Yeah.
When I was in college and, when you were growing up. But you have qualities, you have perspectives, and you have life lessons you've learned to deal with frustration and to stick to something.
Right.
Is that something that you think someone who wants to go into this field, at an older age has, where they have an advantage over someone, who's much younger?
I think it could be an advantage. I know it is for me. I know that working in the hospitality industry and learning that empathy and being forced to deal with people, being forced to deal with groups of people on an individual basis, having to convey the same idea, like I said earlier, to 4 different people. Those are skills that I picked up on, that I was able to develop and hone while I was serving and bartending, that I think have been monumental in me as a coach, that I think will continue to be make me a successful coach.
So you've had a lot of experience listening to people, understanding people. Do you ever feel when you're capturing the flag that there might be a person on the other end, and you're trying to figure out what they are like, and how to get what they have as as not just an innate object, but actually you're trying to capture a flag from a person?
It's almost like we were kids watching the Peppy the Pew skunk chase this cat. It's kind of like that. Like you think and the thing about capturing the flags are you don't know how close you are. You just, at least myself, I go into it always thinking it's right there. It's right there. It's right in front of me, but it might not be. So you keep chasing and you keep chasing, you keep chasing, and that person just keeps walking and keeps walking and keeps walking and keeps walking, but eventually you catch them. Sometimes I wonder if it's not it's a one-on-one competition. Like I'm trying to hack into it and they're trying to keep me from hacking into it. Yeah. And
there's someone playing against you.
Like I said, for me, the best analogy is the old Pepe Le Pew skunk and the cat.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Running, and eventually you're going to catch them. Eventually you're not. But,
we have a question from the audience from Francisco. What's the best book, article, or manual that you have read to prepare you for where you are?
Manual. That's a loaded question, buddy. That's honestly going to depend on, for me, I'm all about manuals, Black Hat Python, any of the Kali manuals. I'm really big with the Kali manuals and the Black Hat Python. The biggest thing to do is jump in and get started. Don't waste your time trying to figure out where you should start. There are enough categories, I think, going on in NCL that pick one that looks appealing to you. And if that doesn't work out, move on to the next one. Kali also has a lot of built-in manuals for the programs they have. But personally, I didn't find anyone that was more interesting than the others.
Francis, awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Would you recommend that as you go into this, there are areas you find that you have more of in your case, a programming background that drew you into Python and the ability to understand the dark side of a language? But as someone goes into it, do you find that they find an area that they tend to like, whether it's crypto or open source? Or
I've always found, and like I said, there's now about 9 different categories, somewhere around there. But you know what I mean? With that many different categories, and that's the other thing I try to explain to a lot of the guys on the team. You do eventually want to understand each of the categories and understand how to do the tasks that are involved in that. But in the beginning, that's overwhelming. So don't try to take on more than you can chew. What you do is you find a category or two that you like. And I've seen some people start out with cryptography and like that. I've seen some people go to enumeration and like that, log analysis and like that. Everyone thinks differently. So what's easy for me might not be easy for you, and what's easy for you might not be easy for me. Side note, that's again why I love to coach, because it helps me learn things that I might not have understood or might not have thought of much quicker than if I were just doing this on my own. But I think that as long as they find an area or two that they like, focus on that, but then just try to grow that skill set.
We were talking before the show on coaching styles, and to make it more fun and make it more interesting, and understanding that each of the people you're coaching are individuals. So what are some tips that you have in terms of a coaching session, how you run a coaching session to keep their interest and to be able to work with them from where they're coming from? Typically,
when we do a coaching session, the first thing I try to figure out are the people that are coming and where their skill set is, just because we have it's a wide variety of skill sets with a dozen people. What I'll usually try to do is pick a category that no one's really familiar with, whether it be cryptography or steg tools or password hashing, whatever it is, password cracking. And then what I'll do is I'll try to create some of my own. Like one thing that I did was I took a few images and I hid text flags in a few and image flags in a few. I intentionally used all online tools, and I used different tools for each image so that they would have to surf around. But I also made them easy enough so that they would be able to find these, so that they can see it's successful. I think one of the biggest things we need to do as coaches are not forget that it's not as easy for a beginner. We forget where we came from sometimes. So we forget how hard it was and how frustrating it is when you're doing that. So I think that by making this easy enough so that they can have a sense of accomplishment too, then I'm able to keep their attention. So like I said, whether it's stag tools or creating hashes for passwords and then letting them find them, it's been successful because they're actually doing it. Like I sent an email blast out with some images, and when I came in the next day, I'd seen 2 or 3 people that are on the team, and they're huddled around talking, and they were kind of hyping each other up. Hey man, were you able to find those images? I found the flag. Did you find the flag? And just the response and the feedback I get from them during the coaching sessions and from the email blasts I send out, it's letting them see that it is possible. And yeah, the next image you try to find the stag in, it might take you 5 or 6 tools. You might have to use digital ink, you know what I mean? But the process is the same. You take the image and you start scanning it. You start running it through different tools, and hopefully eventually you find the right algorithm. You find what's in it. The same with passwords. I think in the beginning, to have successful sessions, it's making sure that I give them tasks that they can accomplish. It's not setting the bar too high.
Well, you have a shout out from Gateway, from Adila High. Go GCTC. So you're doing something right there.
Yeah, we stay pretty busy over here.
Are there things that you'd like to see more out of NCL with? You know, we have the categories, but secure coding flags, you know, that's a sweet spot for you. But are there areas that you think we could go where?
I'm still new enough to NCL that I'm trying to master the categories that you have now. Ask me. Let's have this conversation again in a year. And
okay, we will.
I'll have some suggestions for it. Maybe in the fall, but realistically, I want to become a master at the categories you have now before I take on any more. I do think you guys right now offer an incredible variety. I mean, there is a little taste of a lot of different tools. So people have to be able, if the students look hard enough, they're going to find something that they can connect with. Like I said, whether it's oriented log analysis or website scanning, I mean, they're going to find something that they can connect with if they look, even if it's just open source, you know?
Very cool. Any other advice for coaches?
Don't forget where you came from, and it's not as easy as quit saying it's easy. Quit telling the students and the people that you're mentoring, oh, that's easy here, and let them do it. Don't too many times you ask someone what to do, and I'm really good about not doing it for them. And again, a lot of this goes back to the hospitality industry I was in. But too many times I've asked someone how to do it, especially with coding, and they'll come over and they'll slide me aside, and then they start typing, or they'll produce the answer for me. Well, that's great, but you take someone, the old cliche, you teach a man how to fish, he feeds his family. You buy the fish for him, he eats one time. Yeah, I want to feed my family. Yeah, and I'm sure people that you're mentoring, they want to learn it, or they wouldn't be there. It's extracurricular. So I mean, you're not helping anybody out by dominating it. Let them do it. And again, like I said, it's not as easy as you say it is.
I think that's a great analogy. One of the coolest things I like about competitions is we don't spoon feed you. We don't tell you what's on the test. We teach you to fish.
Yeah. I mean, that's important. You know what I mean? And it all goes back to the fact that NCL is a volunteer thing. It's an extracurricular activity. They're there because they want to be. So something about the NCL or something about the competition drew them there. So they know there's going to be work involved, or they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't come back next week if they didn't like what happened last week. So let's continue to let them do it. Let's teach them how to run. Let's teach them how to ride a bike. Let's continue to evolve them. Let's bring them all up. I think that's what they want. That's initially why they're there.
It's a great note to end up on. Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I hope you make it out to Vegas, maybe
Yeah,
for
we'll
a
see
black
each
hat
other in
at
Vegas.
and see you there. And I'm looking forward to sending you the cap. We are making the cap available in different colors now, so the black hats are coming in this week.
Oh, nice.
So look forward to following you as you continue down this path. And thank you so much.
Hey, not a problem, Dan. I appreciate you having me, buddy.
All right. Take
Have a
care.
good night.